What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Liberty here today, bringing you the next episode in the series on this channel called Elite or Retreat, where we talk about a gun, a map, a mode, whatever that has to do with Modern Warfare, and we talk about whether it's elite or whether you should retreat and go do something else with your time. So today, we are talking about the Striker 45. Now, this gun was in the first drop of DLC. It's supposed to be a remake of the UMP 45 from Modern Warfare 2, for those of you who remember, but it's a decidedly different gun. To be honest, Modern Warfare 2 was a long time ago, but I remember the UMP as being, this low recoil but moderate to high fire rate gun that was kind of the do-it-all sub. The Striker 45 just isn't that. It's a low fire rate, low recoil, low mag size, which is something we'll get into in a moment. Type of gun that kind of just doesn't really fit in this game as well as I would like. Now, right here, talking about class setups. This is like my main pub setup, or one of my main pub setups. I rock longest barrel. Here I put on tac laser, but to be honest, what I've been doing lately is taking off the tac laser and putting on the 45 round mags, because the gun has only a 25 round clip, which I feel like is just not enough, even with the low fire rate, to be able to get kills, consistently with enough speed without feeling like I'm reloading all the time. I also throw on a red dot sight, throw on the Commando foregrip, which is pretty standard for most guns. But I do throw on the rubberized grip tape instead of the stippled grip tape. Now, for those of you who've been keeping up with the patches, you'll know that stippled grip tape just got buffed, so the aim down sight speed is a little bit faster with the same exact cons as before. Now, since this is technically called the FTAC EXO grip tape, I don't know if it gets the same, buff that stippled did or not. Regardless, I still prefer rubberized, because if you've noticed with this setup, I try to turn this gun into an assault rifle, because the low fire rate, low recoil, but higher mobility of a submachine gun just feels more like a more mobile assault rifle. I guess you could say like a Maddox to an ICR, although the gun itself feels more like an ICR. And so I use it more like an assault rifle, because even though it gets a lot of view kick, with the rubberized grip tape and the long barrel and Commando, it doesn't get a lot of recoil at all, to be completely frank. Now, for those of you who are trying to use it more as a submachine gun, I have this setup. Now, this is setup I was using. Let me go into it. I was using this one in like the shipment playlist, trying to level this gun up when I was getting a gold. Same thing for the most part, except I take off the 45 round mags and put on sleight of hand instead, because I want to be sort of faster and I want to be able to get that reloading quick. And I don't want to take the movement and ADS speed sort of cons from having a larger mag size on. I also throw on the EXO grip because, once again, I want to come out of sprint fast and ADS fast. And I throw on 5MW instead of tac laser, just because I don't care as much for the aiming stability at close range, but I do care about getting out of sprint fast. So this gun is definitely more of a run around rushing style of Striker 45. But the gun I use in the gameplay is the assault rifle variant with the tac laser instead of the 45 round mag. So you guys test it out, see which one you like the best, and let me know in the comment section what kind of Striker 45 class you personally find the best for you, and let's get into the gameplay. All right, so getting into the gameplay here on Atlas Superstore. This is a gameplay where I use the AR variant of the UMP is what I'm going to call it, just because that's what I call it personally, and I'm used to calling it that. I'm using the AR variant of the UMP with the tac laser instead of the 45 round magazines, simply because this is sort of when I was still in the experimenting phase with the gun. As you can see, it's not gold yet. I'm using one of the stripe camos. And I was trying to find my groove with it, so I was still on the tac laser, going for more of a pub class. But definitely recommend the 45 round mags more, because of just the amount of instances where you feel like you run out of bullets in your clip. But on this gameplay, I go 21-4 here on Superstore. Pretty good game. Pop off a little bit slower though, because especially demolition on this, demolition just on the bigger maps is a lot slower than you think, which is somewhat unfortunate, but also to be expected, because once again, it is a bigger map. Now, the first thing I want to get into when I talk about the UMP is the feel of the gun, right? It feels like a high mobility version of the ICR from Black Ops 4. As you might have seen with some of the earlier kills, this gun has a decent amount of view kick, but its effectual recoil is extremely low. The gun basically lasers people and looks like it pops up a little bit, which is exactly how the ICR last year felt. It looked like it popped up a little bit, but it actually lasered people. And so that's why that's the closest comparison I can give to the feel of this gun. It's, once again, it's also got a low fire rate, sort of low damage. Those are other things that are comparable to the ICR. But the big difference between the ICR and the UMP, and where this gun shines, is that it can do those assault rifle-like activities, but with a much higher amount of mobility, being a submachine gun by definition. So it allows you to sort of flex. The best way I would describe the usability of this gun, to get into the next point, is more as a flex AR role, right? Because as you may have seen in some of the earlier kills, you can beam people at range with this gun. It's possible. Low damage, low recoil. You know, the red dot sight gives you a clear sort of visual picture to get those long range kills. But you also have the high mobility that allows you to sort of maneuver through close range engagements. Now, the time to kill at close range, it's pretty low. I think sometimes it can surprise you, especially if you hit all your shots, simply because, you know, it's kind of hard to hit all your shots up close with a low fire rate gun. That's why people, you know, tend to maneuver more towards the MP7 or the MP5. Guns that fire at a higher, faster fire rate, simply because it makes those close quarter gunfights easier. But the UMP is definitely passable. I didn't like it up close. That was sort of my experience. That's why I tend to lean more towards the AR setup than the submachine gun setup. But it's definitely maneuverable up close is my point here. But it also gives you the ability to beam people. Now, once again, it's not going to beam you as fast as the M4, the Kilo. It's probably closest to the M13, to be honest, in terms of it being, you know, a low damage, low recoil gun. But I still feel like the M13 probably beams people faster, simply because of the higher fire rate. But it gives you the ability to do that beam, but also maneuver up close. So it's a very much a jack-of-all-trades gun. The only issue I have is that it requires a high skill level in both situations, right? Because in close range, you have to hit all your shots with a low fire rate gun, which can be very challenging. And at a long range, it simply just doesn't kill as fast as the other assault rifles. But that's why I think a map like Atlas Superstore is kind of suited for it, because Atlas Superstore is a map where you have like these long lanes, right? Like you look at mid-map, long lane. You look at the deep, like right side of where my character's facing by the pillars, long lane. You look at the deep left side as well, long lane. Those three lanes are very long, and you need to be able to beam people at long range. But then when you get into more objective-based maze, you have like the boxes area, like where the bomb sites are on this map. They tend to be very close quarter style engagements that need you to have the ability to maneuver through them. So like when people queue up into a map like Atlas Superstore, myself for example, usually the game mode determines what type of gun I'm choosing to use. So for example, most of the time I play Hardpoint. It's my favorite game mode, and coming from more of a, you know, competitive favored style of gameplay, I prefer playing Hardpoint. And in that mode, you have a lot of close quarter engagements around P2, P4, P3, like all of the different hard points are very close quarter style engagements. And even when you're thinking of, you know, pinching to sort of hit the other team quickly off spawn, those engagements and those routes tend to be very close quarters in nature. So I lean towards the MP5. But in a game mode like Team Deathmatch or Kill Confirmed, maintaining control over the long lanes tends to be more important than maneuvering through these objectives, because simply put, there isn't one. So I tend to lean towards sort of the M4 and the Kilo or the M13 or those style of guns in those types of game modes, or even Snipe, to be honest. That's sort of how I've been leveling up my AX50. I just recently got a gold. But if you're sort of looking for a gun that can do both, right? If, say, Demolition, right? You have the need to maintain control of these long lanes, especially down the middle, but you also need to maneuver in close range around these different bomb sites. So this is sort of an area where the Striker 45 or the UMP can kind of shine, and that's why I think, you know, this game went so well, and I ended up going 21-4 and kind of pop off. So in conclusion, I'm going to have to say the UMP or the Striker 45 is a retreat gun. It's just not good enough at close range to be sort of a gun you rely on there. It's not good enough at long range to be a gun you rely on there either. It's kind of just the, I don't know what to expect, so I'm throwing in a gun that can be passable or whatever. But if you have a team and good comms,
Glad it was a
you're going to
fucking
know what kind of
2v6.
situations you'll be put in, whether they be close or long range. And in those instances, you're going to want a gun suited for those particular style of gunfights. And so with that, I'm just going to have to say sorry to the UMP. It was a pleasure using you. I truly enjoyed getting this gun gold. One of my favorite guns to get gold just from, it was an interesting gun to use, to be completely honest. But unfortunately, you're going to have to retreat with this one and try again. So we'll see you guys in the next episode of Elite or Retreat. Until next time, peace.